Yo guys, it's Slyroh. You already know. Welcome to week 6 of the Pokemon Premier League, the PPL. And this week we are taking on Tito's, the Tito Station. And this week is either going to turn out really well or really badly. So, yes, if you are excited for this, make sure you leave your thoughts in the comment section below and leave a like. Also, I will leave an annotation in the description to when the battle starts if you don't want to watch the team breakdown, which I'm going to try and keep it under 15 minutes this week. I'm going to try. So, with that, let's actually just get on straight to the team. So, we are going against Tito's Station, which... out of everybody in the league, I've known Tito's the longest, so I've been excited for this match for quite a long time. And I think I match up against his team pretty well. For those of you who are just listening to this, or for those of you who don't see that his team is over here or whatnot, let's just run through his team. He has Blastoise, Victini, Tyranitar, Conqueror, Raichu, Lucario, Togetic, Porygon 2, Tornadus T, Ambipom, and Dusknoir. And, so, yeah, that's a decently scary team, at first glance when you kind of go through it. But, do you guys want to know a fun fact? My Arcanine shuts down every single one of his physical attackers. So, with that, let's start the team breakdown of what I'm bringing. His team becomes less scary the more that I look at it. However, there are some things that can definitely mess me up that I do need to prepare for. So, let's start off with that physically defensive Arcanine that I'm bringing. Because it's so bae, and it literally can take 2 hits from anything. When it switches in and activates the Intimidate, it can live Stone Edges from Tyranitar. It can actually take 2 of them, I think, depending on the investment, as long as it's not like Choice Band. Life Orb Adamant would still probably be a 2-shot, 2-hit KO, I'm not entirely sure. Either way, the Arcanine that I am bringing is... Leftovers, Intimidate, Max HP, Max Defense, Impish Nature for an attack with Morning Sun, Crunch, Close Combat, and Toxic. Now, this may be a little bit weird because A, I have no Stab, and B, I have no Will-O-Wisp. That's kind of weird, right? Well, here's the thing. He has a Conqueror on his team, so I don't really want to be Will-O-Wisping. You may be asking why Toxic is there, but just hold one second. So, basically, Morning Sun is the basic recovery move. Close Combat is basically to one-shot Tyranitar, which I don't even think it one-shots, actually. But he's not going to know that, hopefully. Hopefully. Either way, it does like 87%. He's not going to want to take that much damage. I know Tidus's playing tendencies very well, and I know the type of Pokemon he likes to bring. He doesn't even like bringing Tyranitar very often, so I don't even know if it's coming. It would probably be a good idea for him to bring. It hits my team pretty well. But I don't know, he's used Tyranitar like once, so I don't know if he will. We'll see. I originally had Flare Blitz on this thing. However, Flare Blitz doesn't actually hit any of his team super effectively. And after making my team, I found that I had a problem taking out Dusknoir. Dusknoir is a big problem in the sense of I don't have anything to take it out easily. It's super bulky on both defense and physical, on both physical and special defenses. So, the plan is, and Dusknoir has Will-O-Wisp, which I'm sure he might want to bring to Will-O-Wisp, things like Mega Pinsir. What else do I even have? What other physical attackers do I have? Other Pokemon that are coming this match, that we will get to. I am bringing some other physical attackers, a lot of them actually. But, yeah. He might have Will-O-Wisp, so I wanted Arcanine to be able to switch in on Will-O-Wisp because Arcanine can't get burned, and then be able to Toxic a Dusknoir, and things like that. Crunch is there specifically for Victini, because Flare Blitz obviously didn't hit Victini very hard, and Close Combat doesn't hit him either. Fun fact, Arcanine completely walls Choice Banded Victini, so I don't even care if he brings Banded Victini, which I should be terrified of, but I'm not. I'd be more terrified of Specs Victini. That would be a bigger problem for me. But yeah, so that's why Crunch is there, Close Combat for that, and so I mean, Flare Blitz isn't really going to hit anything that any of the other moves aren't. Flare Blitz and Close Combat do almost the same to a Porygon 2. Flare Blitz might do a little bit more, but it's not enough to really matter. Ambipom, Raichu are weak. I mean, Flare Blitz is super effective against Lucario, but so is Close Combat. So it wasn't necessary. And I needed Toxic. I don't have Will-O-Wisp because Toxic is better to wear down things other besides Will-O-Wisp. So there is that. Arcanine does shut down basically all the physical attackers. And so let's see, what should I show off next? Let's just go with the Mega Pinsir, because Mega Pinsir is pretty standard. And we'll save the surprises towards the end, which, I don't know, would you consider these surprises? I guess they are. Pinsir is just going to be Mega Pinsir, blah blah blah, max HP, max speed, Jolly Nature, 4 EVs and HP, with Stealth Rock, Swords Dance, Return, Quick Attack. So now, I know in the past, Fredford specifically has told me that I really shouldn't run Stealth Rock on Mega Pinsir. There's a reason for this. There is a reason for this, and at this time, I am not sacrificing a priority move like Quick Attack for Stealth Rocks, so I think we're fine. He doesn't have much to resist my stab. Return hits a lot of things hard. It's going to hit Victini hard. It's going to one-shot Conqueror. It's going to hit a lot of his team really hard. Duskmar can take a hit unless I get a Swords Dance up. Tyranitar I think can take a hit, however I can't really switch into one and take another one. And Blastoise, physically defensive Blastoise, is basically the only thing that's going to wall Mega Pinsir, so I didn't need coverage moves. It's not a big deal, and I need Stealth Rock because he has things like Tornadus T, Togetic, and Victini, things that just don't appreciate Stealth Rocks, as well as anything that could be Focus Sashed. It's just good to have Stealth Rocks up in there. And now, and the rest is just Swords Dance, Return, Quick Attack, pretty standard, and I made it Jolly Nature just to make sure that I outspeed things like Victini. Basically, because I'm not going to outspeed anything else unless Raichu's like Modest or whatever, but we'll see. He likes to outspeed. Tito's likes to outspeed. He likes to put Choice Scarfs on things, so I'll definitely keep that in mind. Anything on his team can be Scarfed, except for like the obvious like Togetic and Porygon 2 aren't going to be Scarfed, but basically anything else could be, because that's just the way he rolls. So, yeah. Now the reason I have Stealth Rocks on Pinsir and not Gliscor is because this week I'm bringing an offensive Gliscor. So it's finally time to break out offensive Gliscor. Tito's, while he doesn't have as big of an Edge Quake weakness as he used to, he still has a decent Edge Quake weakness. So I'm bringing Gliscor with Life Orb, Max Attack, Max Speed, Adamant, 4 EVs and HP with Swords Dance, Earthquake, Rock Slide, and Roost. I do have the Poison Heal ability. I don't know how I'm going to get Toxic. I don't know if he'll do that. I can't really switch into things that carry Toxic like Porygon 2, because Porygon 2 also has Ice Beam. Duskmar is more likely to Will-O-Wisp than to Toxic, and I don't want that, so I don't know if Gliscor will ever get Toxic to this match. But that's why I have Roost. Earthquake, is going to hit things like Victini, like Tyranitar, like Raichu, like Lucario, and, anything's going to hit Ambipom. And then the Stone Edge is, of course, there for, like, Tornadus, Therian, Togetic. Yeah. And, of course, after I get a Swords Dance up, it's going to be super nice, and then I can outspeed a lot of things, because Gliscor's still base 95 speed. Yeah. So that is offensive Gliscor. I couldn't really fit Stealth Rocks in on this moveset, and I still really wanted Stealth Rock, so that's why it's on Pinsir, because it's the only other Stealth Rocker on my team. I don't really see the problem with it. It should be fine. So, now, let's see, the next thing that I would like to show off is going to be Gourgeist, because what Tito's likes to do, well, actually, because related to Stealth Rocks, Tito's has a Rapid Spinner, called Blastoise, and I want to be able to Spin Block, so I'm bringing Gourgeist small, it is small, with, whoops, I didn't even change the ability yet. The ability is going to be Frisk, with the item Leftovers, max special defense, max HP, Careful Nature, 4 EVs and attack with Leech Seed, Seed Bomb, Rock Slide, Destiny Bond, and it is basically there for Blastoise. With max special defense, Careful Nature, and Leftovers, it can take 2 Ice Beams, in case he gets real and predicts. However, I outspeed, and I can take him out with 2 Seed Bombs before he can take me out with that 3rd Ice Beam. As well as I have Destiny Bond and I outspeed it, which is good, and Rock Slide is just for anything that might come in to resist a hit from Gourgeist Small, such as Tornadus, Therian, or things like that. So, yeah, that's this whole thing, as well as Leech Seed is there for things, because Leech Seed is always good to have, and that is my Spin Blocker. I'm assuming Blastoise, if it comes, is going to be physically defensive, because basically Tito's always brings it as defensive, either physically or specially defensive. He's yet to bring an offensive Blastoise, so I'm not expecting it at this point, as well as I think I could still take it on, even if it is. But either way, let's see. Then let's move on to Kyurem. No. Let's move on to Electivire. Let's just show off Electivire. Basically, at this point, I have Arcanine, Gliscor, Pinsir, and Gourgeist, all that have physical attacking moves. And I originally was going to bring Banded Electivire because it does do some work. It, Thunder Punch is going to hurt Blastoise, as well as his flying types and things like that. But afterwards, I was just like, I don't have special attacks. If he brings, like, physically defensive everything, he could shut me down. And that's not okay. So, I decided to make Electivire choice specs. I gave it Motor Drive, in case I can predict it, I don't know, unless I can switch it on, like, Raichu's, Thunder something, whatever. I can still live other hits from Raichu. This thing actually goes up against Raichu very well. And, let's just go over the set. It is choice specs with Motor Drive, max special attack, max speed. What is this nature? I've never used this nature. Mild nature, with 4 EVs and attack. It has Earthquake, Thunderbolt, Volt Switch, and Focus Blast. Earthquake is there specifically for Raichu, with no attack increasing nature and 4 EVs and attack. It can still one-shot Raichu. It's still going to do a lot to Lucario. If I want to be able to hit that, if I want to make sure that I'm going to hit it instead of relying on something like Focus Blast. That's an option. I have Thunderbolt and Volt Switch. Well, Volt Switch is just, to get Switch Initiative, things like that. Still do a lot of damage because Tito's doesn't have any ground types. So I will be able to Volt Switch on anything that I feel like. As well as Thunderbolt is just there for some nice and powerful stab. Earthquake is there for the reasons I have already said. And then Focus Blast, I just kind of threw on to hit things like Porygon 2. Actually, it was specifically Porygon 2 was the main one. I can take on Porygon 2 fairly well. With specs, I can easily 2-hit KO. I think it requires 2 Focus Blasts hitting. I'm not sure if I can 2-shot it with Thunderbolt. Not quite sure. I don't remember. And then, finally, the thing to just bring everything together and just screw up any of Tito's plans if he thinks he's going to catch me off guard. And that is going to be Kyurem. Woo! This Kyurem is going to be dual screen Kyurem with Light Clay, Pressure, Reflect, Light Screen, Roost, Dragon Pulse, and I think, I actually have it listed here wrong. I think I'm going to make this thing max HP, max speed, with a Timid nature and 4 EVs and attack, because I want to be able to get off screens before he will attack me. So I'm actually going to put that in so I don't forget. I'm reading this off of Showdown if you couldn't tell. That's what I always do. But so it's going to be max HP, max speed, Timid nature, Reflect, Light Screen, Roost, Dragon Pulse. Unfortunately, the surprise is kind of ruined because Fred brought dual screen Kyurem Black last week in his PPL match. I wanted to be the first, but it is what it is. I've been thinking about this for a while. The week that I brought dual screen... No. I think week 1 I almost brought dual screen Kyurem. But alas, I didn't. It's waiting till this week. Basically, just the way Tito's thinks, when he does calcs, I mean, I know that you plan for the worst, like, possible case and things like that. No one ever expects screens. Ever. When people are planning their team, they never, ever calc with, like, assuming that a screen is going to be up. Unless there's, like, an obvious screen setter, which even then, I still don't know if people calc for screens. They'll just bring Brick Break and then still calc without it. So basically, if Tito thinks he's bringing something that is going to be able to take out a threat of mine, I'm just going to get screens up, and he's not going to be able to. As well as I have Roost to stick around longer, and Dragon Pulse is just a nice and powerful stab that he doesn't have a resistance to, except for Togetic. Togetic basically walls me, but I have Togetic switches. It's not a problem at all. So, that's basically my team. I have a feeling that I'm going to do very well. I'm very confident about this match. I do feel like I deal with Tito's team extremely well. There are a few odd things that I've thought of that he could probably bring that might really catch me off guard or might really hurt. Specs Victini being one of them. I think Arcanine could still deal with it okay, but I would just prefer to have a Banded Victini rather than a Specs Victini. And Banded Conqueror. He's probably not going to think about it. I'm really hoping. If he brings Bandit Conqueror, I just don't have a switch into it at all. Ice Punch would just body my team, except for Arcanine, which I can't really hit back very well. And especially I would have it... No, like, I just wouldn't be able to hit it back very well. He'd be able to two-shot me before I'd be able to do anything. So, I mean, if I could get a Reflect Up before that would happen, that would be great, but I'd have to sack something off in order to do so. So, Bandit Conqueror is probably the biggest threat to my team, and I just don't think he's going to think of it. Hopefully. But either way, even if that is a thing, Pinsir's return one-shots it, so it's okay. But yeah, that's something to be scared of. And was there any other, like, threats that I really thought of? I mean, he could basically band or scarf anything. I mean, Bandit Tyranitar would probably be a problem. But there's not really a whole lot. I think I can deal with this team very well. I don't know what 6 he's going to bring, but I'm pretty sure that I can deal with whichever one he does bring. So that is going to be the team breakdown for Titos' team. I think I'm going to live comm this battle. I'm going to try. So, hopefully you guys will see the live comm start of the battle right now. Alright guys, so now we're on to the battle, and unfortunately I was unable to live comm this battle. My capture card was acting up. Thankfully it's working now, because I am recording this battle myself, so yeah. But either way, I'm pretty glad that it was not live commed, because I would honestly be okay if I never have to relive this battle again. But let's not get into spoilers. Let's just say this was an intense match. And alright, so let's try and think about my thought process. So you already saw my team breakdown and saw what I was bringing and know what the plan is. Titos here has brought the Tornadus T, the Tyranitar, Conkeldurr, Porygon 2, Blastoise, and Victini. Right off the bat, I saw that Conkeldurr and was like, I can't Toxic anything while that thing is alive. However, I did notice that there was no Dusknoir, so I was pretty happy about that. But I did see Tornadus, which was a huge threat. Honestly, I didn't have switch-ins to like a Specs Tornadus or anything like that. So I was pretty scared. And because of that, I actually decided to start the battle. Let's see, do I need to start the battle? Anything like that? Yeah, that basically covers his team. Let's just get on to the match. So because I see that Tornadus T, I decided to start the battle with Kyurem so I can get a light screen up as fast as possible. I am still pretty convinced that he could have basically destroyed my whole team with basically a Specs or even Life Orb, I think Tornadus T. But he starts off with Victini, and I cannot take a V-Create. So I go into my physical wall that can take a V-Create, which is Arcanine, and he does indeed go for V-Create, which gives me some valuable knowledge. I was calcing a lot during this match to find out what his sets were, and based on the damage that this V-Create does, I deduce that he is not Choice Banded, which is great, and because there's no recoil, I actually just go straight for, I think this thing is Scarfed. I was like, this thing has to be Scarfed, and if he switches out, then that just confirms to me in my mind that he is Scarfed, which it turns out he actually is Scarfed. So everything here is based on the assumption that he's Scarfed, which I was correct on. He goes right into Blastoise. I actually go for close combat, just kind of hoping that he might switch into Tyranitar, but Titos isn't stupid. He knows that Blastoise is a way better switch in, which I didn't really think of. I mean, I did, but at the same time, when Blastoise switches in, I have a switch into Blastoise, so it's not even a problem. I can switch into Gourgeist and take an Ice Beam. It's no big deal at all. So I do decide to indeed go into my Blastoise switch-in, which is Gourgeist. Oh, JK, no I don't. Why did I do that? I don't know. I went into Kyurem. Because Kyurem can take hits, I guess? I don't know. I wanted to get up screens, I guess. Whoops, a little too early. But he actually goes for Dragon Tail, and he gets a crit, which sucks. But in the end, it's not really a big deal. And he actually Dragon Tails me into Gourgeist, so I'm like, you know what? I can make good out of the situation. I do find the leftovers, and so at this point, I just kind of assume that he is a physically defensive Blastoise, also based on the close combat damage and leftovers. It just confirms that he's most likely a physically defensive Blastoise. Knowing that he was probably going to switch out, I actually tried to be too real, and I go for Rock Slide, hoping that he might go into like Tornadus, and hoping to catch it off guard, but he doesn't. He goes into Porygon 2, so then I just switch it up and go straight for Leech Seed. He goes for an Ice Beam, and I know that I can live it. I'm a max special defense, careful nature Gourgeist. It's no big deal at all. And after Leftovers and the Leech Seed, I could actually take another one if I wanted, but I can't really do a whole lot of damage back, so I know that I have to switch out and try and preserve the Scoregeist for later. I may need it for that Blastoise. So, just knowing that it has, you know, Ice Beam, assuming it has Tri-Attack, and knowing that it doesn't have anything else that can hit me harder, I go into Arcanine. I wanted to try and Toxic Stall this thing, and, yeah. So I switch in, and he does indeed go for Tri-Attack. And Tri-Attack does a lot of damage. I wasn't quite expecting it to do that much damage, but it's fair damage. Now, because I really thought that I knew Tidos's thought process really well, I thought he was going to be able to deduce that he could take me out before I could take him out. Because I would have to go for Morning Sun, things like that, to outstall. I wouldn't be able to attack him, you know, if he did that. So I decided to try and go for Toxic Stall, despite the fact that Conqueror is still alive. That thing is still alive, and I still went for Toxic. He was too real, and he switched into it. This is literally the worst play that I've done all season. Worse than not having Max Happiness return on my Mega Pinsir. Worse than switching in Mega Pinsir on Stealth Rocks. This is the worst play that I could have possibly done this entire freaking season. And now I go for Morning Sun for who knows why. I could have gotten some damage off here, because I can live any attack, or so I thought. I can live a Drain Punch. I can, you know, live with that. And he goes for Ice Punch. That would have been a great time for me to possibly switch into Pinsir. I actually don't know if I could have lived a Guts Ice Punch. I think I could, because regular Pinsir, I think, actually resists it. Either way, I could have done that, and I would have been perfectly fine, but I didn't. Basically, my plan here was Toxic damage is going to rack up. If I can just Morning Sun until, you know, he Toxic Stalls, you know, until he Toxics himself to death, I'm fine. Drain Punch does more than half though, and after Leftovers it's going to put me at about half, so I was thinking, you know what, I'm pretty set. Drain Punch is his most powerful move, and it still puts me at half, which means that I can Morning Sun, and Toxic damage is eventually just going to catch up to him, and get him to a spot where my Arcanine can be alive, and his Conqueror can be dead, and then we can forget that this all happened, and everyone is happy in the end, except for Titos, because, you know, that wouldn't be good, but he has Earthquake. And, ladies and gentlemen, right here, this crit matters. I, as a physically defensive Arcanine, can still live a Guts, Adamant, Assault Vest, Earthquake from a Conqueror. It would have put me at, I would have done about 90%, but either way, it still would have been alive, which could have mattered with how I played this game. I probably could have switched into, like, Gliscor to take an Earthquake and then hit it back with something, but this is the time that I go into Mega Pinsir, knowing that I can take it out with Return. He has nothing that he can do to me, so I just go straight for the Return. I could have been super real and maybe gone for Swords Dance, but in the end it really wouldn't have mattered because he has switch-ins for Mega Pinsir. He prepared for it very, very well. Finally though, Mega Pinsir actually gets a kill, only his second kill of the entire season, ridiculously enough, but he does do that, and he goes into Victini, confirming once again that he is indeed Scarfed. Knowing that I am not going to be able to stay in on V-Create, I basically I looked at his team, figured what can I sack off, and Electivire was the answer. So Electivire gets his 5 seconds in the spotlight to be able to die to a V-Create. Hooray me, right? So Electivire did absolutely nothing. Titos said that if I would have brought Quagsire, that it would have been a whole different match, and I 100% agree at this point, because I could have, that would have been the time for me to go into Quagsire. Gliscor can actually live a V-Create and then not OHKO with an Earthquake, but come very close to doing so, and then I could take, it would be within dying to a Mega Pinsir quick attack range. But instead I go for Earthquake, and I almost take out Conqueror, but unfortunately it dies to Poison, which means Gliscor does not get the kill. So sad, so sad. And now, oh my gosh. Now we go for, okay, no, it didn't happen yet. Alright, well, there's another time where things are going to happen. But he goes into Tornadus T, which, again, I was like, I don't really have a switch in for. Kieran can take hits better than anything, and he thought I was going to go for, like, Stealth Rocks or something, and he actually uses Taunt. Without knowing that I have dual screens, he just did a huge move, taunted, so I cannot put up dual screens, which means I had to switch right back out because Dragon Pulse isn't going to do that much. I don't want to be taking unnecessary damage, so I had to switch back into Gliscor, even though I really wanted to keep Gliscor alive because I needed it to live a V-Create and be able to hit Victini back. If I really stayed in much longer, I was going to get out of that range. He brings in Tyranitar, and the way he brought this in, I should have known this thing was Scarfed and was going to go for Ice Punch, But Earthquake was an OHKO. I went for Earthquake. I would have OHKO'd if I outsped, but he has a Scarfed Tyranitar, which is something I did not plan for at all, and straight up kills my Gliscor. That's another thing that I could switch in to take some sort of hit that I cannot do anymore. Calcing how much Ice Punch will do, I know that Kyurem is actually a really safe switch in, and here I can finally get up some screens, which are my only possible way that I can win at all this match, which honestly, even at this point, because I don't have switch-ins to Tyranitar or Victini now, both would have been, you know, Arcanine, it's not even like that much. Like, even behind Reflex, like, they can still do a lot of damage. Tyranitar can still do a lot of damage. Victini can certainly do a lot of damage. But I get up both screens. Now, here again, I kind of misplay a little bit. I could have easily switched out into something. At this point, I could have... Well, here's the thing. Alright, so here's the thing. I knew that I could 1v1 this thing. I could outstall. I have Roost. Whatever. No big deal. I actually get pretty lucky because I don't think any of these Scalds ever burn me. So that is something that did go my way, actually. I didn't think that I had anything go my way, but Scald never burning me this whole match is a pretty big deal, in my opinion. And seeing how much Dragon Pulse does, I know that I can eventually take him out. Blastoise doesn't have recovery outside of the leftovers that it holds, and yeah. But I need to keep this Kyurem with as much HP as I possibly can, because behind Reflex, I can still live AV Create. You know, things like that, and a hit from Tyranitar, and I don't know, Kyurem, I really needed to keep this thing alive as long as I could, but at any point here, I could have easily just switched into something else to start doing work. But here's the thing, I kind of had lost count of turns for screens, and I wanted to be able to have screens up for as long as possible. So instead of going for a Dragon Pulse to take out this Blastoise like I should have done, I think I go for something stupid like Roost, because why not? I could have gotten a kill there, but I was worried about him getting a safe switch in or something. I don't freaking know. This is, I'm getting salty already. So, yeah, now he goes for a Dragon Tail, gets another critical hit. The Dragon Tail critical hits aren't really a big deal. It's just, you know, the fact that the word critical hit appears for when he attacks me, and it never, I don't think I get a single crit on him this whole game. And the Reflect wears off, and despite the fact that he just went for Dragon Tail, what do? I try to set up on a Blastoise that has no reason to not go for Dragon Tail. So he goes for Dragon Tail, making that turn void as well. I could have went for return there. I think I might have even killed. And then I go into Gourgeist. Well, I get dragged out into Gourgeist, which is actually a good matchup for me again. But still, Tidus was in my head basically this whole game. He was out predicting me, he was out playing me, I was playing poorly, and at this point I just wasn't even thinking straight. I was trying to think of ways to win, and everything that I was thinking of just was not working. I didn't know how I was going to beat this thing. So I decided to assume that he was going to switch out in Destiny Bond. If he switches into Victini, he has to take himself out if he wants to kill me. Same thing goes with Tyranitar. I can take out one of these massive threats, and I was super excited about that. He goes for a Rock Slide because he can. It does a decent amount of damage, and I get the flinch because why wouldn't I get flinched on top of crits, on top of everything else that happens to me every single match? He goes for Rock Slide again, and I void, so there we go. Something actually went my way, I guess. It kind of made up for it, so either way, oh my gosh, you can tell that I'm still a little salty, but I'm not really salty at Tidus or at the game as much as I am just frustrated in the way I played, because I feel like I played really badly, really badly. I could have played so much better, and I think I could have won with the team that I brought, for sure, if I would have played better with it. So again, I try to hit this thing with a Destiny Bond just to make it, you know, die if it takes me out. But this Tornadus, he was actually a special, like, not a special Tornadus. It actually had no special moves. Knockoff was its only attacking move. Its other moves were Tailwind, Taunt, and something else. I don't think it had a flying attack move. I don't remember. Oh, U-Turn. U-Turn was the other one. It was U-Turn, Knockoff, taunt, and things like that, which means that I would have been perfectly fine to go into a lot of things here. But I didn't feel like I had to switch in. I didn't know what this thing was. I was assuming it was Expert Belt. Tito's being the smart player, taunt so I can't Destiny Bond, I can't Lead Seed anything else, and basically Gourgeist is useless now. I still think that it can put in work later. I don't even know why. Everything on his team that's left can outspeed me except for Blastoise, which he isn't going to let stay in against Gourgeist. So I think I basically just let Gourgeist die. And he gets another critical hit there, but at this point I was basically sacking off the Gourgeist anyway, so that critical hit is another one that doesn't really matter too much, but still, the fact that it's critical hit like every other turn it's a little ridiculous. I think you guys can agree that that's just a little bit ridiculous, and at the point where I'm already super frustrated, the fact that I keep seeing critical hit over and over and over is just making me even more frustrated, and I'm just thinking less and less clearly the more I do this. I actually live another knockoff, and I go for a Rock Slide, and I think I almost take it out. Yeah, look at that. Look at how close it was to taking it out. Gourgeist almost killed a Tornadus. I think you got to give some props to that. That Gourgeist basically 1v1 to Tornadus and won. Unfortunately, well, it does die to Lead Seed, but that's not a kill for Gourgeist. That's still good for me, except for now he gets the clean switch into whatever he wants. I was expecting Victini, but in the long run, Tyranitar is actually the better switch in. I was hoping that he would go into Victini. Maybe after 2 V-Creates, I can, I don't know, outspeed, return with Mega Pinsir, and take him out or something. I was hoping for a lot of things to go my way at this point, and they just weren't. It just wasn't going to happen. There was no chance of me winning at this point in the game. I go into Kyurem, going to set up a Reflect, thinking that, hey, I can live a Rock Slide, and maybe I can Reflect, Roost Up, and I can outstall this thing, but he gets a flinch that wasn't even a crit, so you saw how much damage that did. So a Reflect Up would not have mattered, because it outspeeds me, so I wouldn't have been able to Roost before he got another Rock Slide off. I was really salty at the fact that I got the flinch there, but when you really look back on it, it would not have mattered. A +4 Quick Attack from Pinsir would not have taken out Tyranitar, would not have taken out Victini. I think a +6 Quick Attack may have taken out Victini. I still don't think that would have taken out Tyranitar, and both of them outsped me because they were both Scarfed, that there was just no chance of me winning. Basically, the minute that I Toxic that Conkeldurr is basically the beginning of the end, which was so early in the battle, and then all Tito's had to do was just play smart and basically just beat me. The only way Tito's would have lost that is if he played really, really badly, and he didn't because he's not a bad player. So he did everything he needed to do. I made the mistakes, he capitalized on it, he was in my head, he outpredicted. I give so much props to Tito's. This was a 3-0 loss, but I honestly feel like it was so much worse. It was so much worse. It's crushing when you know that, in a sense, you almost beat yourself. I will give it that I'm not guaranteeing that I would have won had I never Toxic'd the Conkeldurr, but I would have had a much better shot to win. Arcanine basically walled Victini, walled Tyranitar. Because it was Scarfed, I actually walled it pretty well. The Rock Slide would have done like 30-something%, and I had Close Combat, which was a guaranteed OHKO because he didn't have any HP investment, or not very much. And I walled Conkeldurr. I really did. Without Guts, Earthquake was doing half at the most. And of course, I've already said without Guts, I can easily switch it Pinsir and take that out. So my team just wasn't bad. It wasn't the wrong team to bring. I could have brought Quagsire instead of Gliscor. The offensive Gliscor was a little bit cocky for me to bring. It was completely unnecessary, and despite the fact that it could have put in some work, it really doesn't matter because it just didn't. It just didn't. It wasn't really a good thing to bring. Looking back, there's really no point for me to bring it. I don't know. I guess it could still have done work against Victini, but I mean, Tito's, and I have talked, and he basically pointed out that bringing Quagsire instead of Gliscor would have been a much, much better play. It would have walled his specific Victini. His Victini did actually carry Energy Ball for the Quagsire, but that would just choice him into it, and then I can play around that, get a free switch into anything else, because everything else on my team can take an Energy Ball. Not a problem. So there's so many things that I could have done differently, and I wish I would have done differently. But honestly, at the end of the day, it is what it is. It is GG to Tito's, and in terms of the PPL, we're in kind of a bad spot. I am 2-4, which is not great, and I go up, the next 2 battles I have are against 2 of the toughest people in the PPL. Next week I take on Shoddy, which is basically I would say he's probably the best player, and I think he might be in first place. Right now I haven't seen all the battles actually haven't happened yet, but if things go his way, there's a very good chance that he could be in first place. And then after that we play Alex, Onesie Bennett of the Dino, I don't know how to pronounce that, but whatever, and he's also really scary, so there's a very good chance that we could be 2-6 entering into week 9, but we just need to prepare as much as we can and do the best we can against our next 2 opponents. We have a transfer window this week, which I'm hoping to get something to help boost the team. And yeah, so I think I'm going to stop rambling on. You guys see the match, go ahead and leave your thoughts below on it, and I hope to never ever see this battle again. But either way, at the end of the day, thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. Go ahead and leave a like if you did enjoy, and go ahead and check out the PPL Twitter and YouTube channel, as well as Tito's channel, of course, so you can watch his side of the battle as well. And that is going to be everything. So once again, thanks for watching, guys, and until the next time, guys, stay sly.